Good morning, everyone. My name is Jared, and this is my channel, Mazda B3K. Got another video that it's a little more, I guess, fanciful in that this is going to be a video about the repair of my kid's 12-volt John Deere ride-along. I think it's got a locked-up wheel motor, so I need to verify the diagnosis, and then I'll get the parts and do the repair. Without further ado, let's get started. So this is the John Deere 12 volt. It's called Ground Force. Ride along. It's meant for little people. It's got a weight limit of like 50 pounds or so. And as you can see, this one's got quite a few miles on it. We got it from my son when he was 2. And he's 7 now, to give you some context. So now it's down to my my last child, who's the right size to be using this. And see, nothing fancy here. It's just 12-volt battery. It has 2 wheel motors. They're mounted at each wheel in the back. And herein lies the problem. I'm going to get you on the tripod and I'll show you. But essentially, you've got one motor that turns, and it's one wheel that turns, and it sounds like it ought. And the other one's making a horrible clacking noise. So let me get you on a tripod so I can demonstrate that. Alright, so let's take a look. Now, like I said, there's a wheel motor behind each wheel. So on the, I guess we'll just call it the left, because there's not really a driver or passenger with this. I'm getting this click click noise, which that's not right. And then over here on the right side, when you lift it, that's what you should hear. Now, one of the wheel motors has already died on this. I replaced it about a year ago, so I'm suspecting that the remaining original wheel motor is about done. A quick way to tell is we need to get this wheel off. So let me bring you in here. Camera adjusted. Okay. So I am trying to remember the order of operations here. I can't remember if you got to take this off first, or you got to take the cap in the middle off first. I think this cap's got to come off first. Okay. Yep. All right. You guys are seeing just fine. And I don't remember how to take it off. Okay. I think I know how you do it. Oh yeah, I see it now. All right. So to take this off without scratching up the plastic, you're going to need, there are 3 tangs, like 1, 2, 3, that hold this in. So you got to pop it out. That's kind of what we need to do, like so. It'll come right out. I apologize, it's 2. So there's 2 tangs that hold this in. Alright, so next up you have, I've heard them call it a bunch of things, but basically it's like a kind of a locking washer. I don't know exactly what you call it, but it's this guy right here, and I intend to replace with a new one, so I am totally comfortable with destroying this. If you're trying to do this on the super cheap and you want to reuse this, you need to be nice to it as you attempt to take it off. Like I said, I'm totally cool with trashing it. So last time the repair kit I bought, it actually came with a new one because with the anticipation that you were going to absolutely trash this to get it off. Because generally they're one-time use in general. Because they're really good at their job, which is to not let go. And I seem to remember, I think the last one I had to cut didn't want to come off. I may actually have to go get a real screwdriver. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to bump the camera. How are you guys doing tonight? kids are in bed. And I figure I'd go ahead and put some time into this. But, oh, there we go. Trying to be kind of lazy about it. As you can see, haven't actually grabbed appropriate tooling. But it would behoove you to get like a nice screwdriver, something like that. I'm being kind of lazy. Just using my multi-tool here. It should work eventually. Yeah. Okay, that did not work as anticipated, but alright. How about now? You're going to come off now, or you're going to keep fighting? Ah, so close, so close. So as you can see, a good general strategy is just go around the perimeter of it and just kind of wiggle it off. And there will be just like a regular flat washer behind it. You know, put it here so it doesn't get lost. And somehow, amazingly, I did not actually break this. Again, I'm not going to reuse it, but I didn't break it. How cool is that? Alright, so let's get this wheel off. Okay. So the wheel is off. Let me spin you guys around. Alright, so this comes off too. And this is just the way it locks into the wheel to actually, this is your drive gear, basically. I guess, honestly, this is almost like part of your transmission, because this is what takes the power that's coming off. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's your problem. This is what's taking the power that comes off the wheel motor, which is this right here, and translates it into something the wheel can use. As you can hear that, it's done. And let's see. This is the other original wheel motor. The one I put in, the plastic was white, I want to say. You can see the plastic is black on this. So yeah, I mean, that's what happened. It's just the wheel motor gave up. Very understandable. All right. So looking at this, I think what I'm going to need to do, let me zoom out here, is we've got these two screws here, which are probably holding in something that keeps the wheel motor in place. But I'm also thinking that the way this works is the wheel motor does not slide out this way. You actually have to push it in, probably. Actually, you know what? I seem to remember. Yeah, you're going to have to slide the axle out. So yeah, that's a piece of it. Let's go and get this axle out. Which at this point, it'll slide right out. You don't have to do anything to the other wheel. It'll just slide out. Just like that. Alright. So, axle's out. But we are going to need to remove this plastic up here, and to remove this plastic up here. There's the camera again. This has got to come off, which means the seat's got to come off. And once you get all of this out of the way, if I remember correctly, it opens up to a compartment down here, and then you can get access to the wheel motor. So let me find out where our next set of screws are going to be that we got to remove. I'll bring you back. All right. this is a view from under the tractor, and what these two screws are here are the screws that hold in the seat. And now that, hey, focus. And now that we're on the side, you can see the wheel motors each sit in their own little cubbies here. So we got to come at it from the top, which means that all this has got to come out. And we got to get the seat out of the way. So let's tackle that. Because today I can do disassembly for you guys, but I don't have parts on hand. I wanted to verify failure before I started playing around with that. And failure has been verified. We have a very crispy wheel motor. So we'll go ahead and... Alright, and you just heard the seat let go. That's just like a standard Phillips. Alright, seat's out. Okay. Wow, I think I found half the sand in my backyard. Outstanding. Okay, what do we have? Alright, I'm going to roll this over so that you guys can see it. Get my parts out of the way. Let's see. Here we go. Alright, we're going to take to the skies and we're going to zoom out. Okay. So here's what it looks like under the seat. You've got the wiring running back to the wheel motors. And then you have the actual wheel motor wiring itself here and here. And it's all sitting under this plastic cowling, molding. I don't know what you want to call it. But we do need to remove this to get access. And I think the next step is there are some screws that are at the side here. Yeah, there's one right there that needs to come out. And then there's one on the other side that is going to need to come out. So let's go ahead. Spin you around a little bit. All right. Yeah, it's a pretty good angle. If you forget where screws go easily, this would be a great time to set aside some cups, baggies, some sort of organizational system. Whatever floats your boat. So that you don't forget. Okay, and then this has a... Let's see if I can bring you around and show it to you. There is a squeeze tab in the front. Right where my finger is. It may not be very visible, but there's a squeeze tab, and that's how we're going to pop this out on the front side. Let's see. Yep. Just like that. Okay. So now we got to spin it around. Do the other side. I think I'll do that off camera, and I'll bring you back after that step. All right, we're back. I've got you in the air. I haven't seen any more screws, but I do see there's a pair of push tabs there and there that are holding our piece of plastic down in the front. And then there's a tab there in the back and another tab there in the back. Looks like they're push tabs, but in different directions. So I'm going to go ahead and push those out, and I believe this piece should come free. Okay, now we have access to the wheel motors. Also take a look, I've discovered all sorts of amazing things that are living in this tractor. There's a family of spider eggs or something down here. I don't know. As long as they don't hatch, we're okay. So this is the right side, and that is the motor I replaced. See how the plastic's white? Now this is loose now because we've taken everything out. See, you got to push it a bit, but it'll spin, right? And we saw the other side, it kind of was saying nope, and it was fighting us pretty hard. So now that is interesting. It looks like these two screws, yes, they are missing on this side. So when I put this back together, I missed that. I have to fix that before we put it all back together. But this is not the side that we are interested in. We are interested in the other side, which, if I can spin this around, take a look at. So we've got a pair of screws that need to come out. And once those are out, we should be able to slide this out. There's a spacer behind the motor. You just pop it out. It just keeps the motor from wiggling around. That's literally all it does. But we take that spacer out and take the wires out. Take a picture. It's only 2 wires, but still, take a picture so you know which one goes where, which one's your hot, which one's your neg. And this come out. I'll bring that down for you guys. We'll say this. This is a Peg Perigio product. And we've owned it now for about 5 years. And this thing has been tough. All I've had to do is just change out one wheel motor. I haven't had to do anything else to this. No gluing, no repairs, no nothing. Just put a battery in it and it goes. Worth every penny. Alright, so now we gotta fish that spacer out. Don't fall. Curse you, gravity. Alright, so let's take a quick bit of video here. So the red wire is on top. The blue wire is on the bottom. Get those off. I said, let's get that off. It says, no, I don't wanna. Anyway, let me finish fishing this out. Get that spacer out. I'll bring it back. That's it. Here's the spacer I mentioned. Just a piece of plastic. That's all it is. And that's it. This is the motor. Now, if you so desired, if you're really hardcore, you could. There are 2 screws buried in here. And with some effort, looks like there's some tabs. You could open this up and see specifically why it failed. It sounds like gears are skipping, so I'm guessing what happened is whatever lubrication is in this motor is done. It's done. This probably has hundreds and hundreds of hours of use, equating to miles and miles and miles of use, which for a little toy like this is pretty dang impressive. So I guess what I'm getting at here is I'll buy a new motor. Unfortunately, I don't have the time, and I actually really don't have a proper workbench to take this apart and see exactly what failed. But I sure would love to. Well, let's see. We got 3 push tabs, 2 screws. Tell you what. We've got a little time at the moment. Let me take these screws out. Let me see if I can open this up and we can verify our failure. Alright, I took the screws out. This is what you get. Here's the motor. And as for the motor itself, appears to turn just fine. I don't have a 12-volt power source in here on me, but I do have one out in my shop. So I will check that out tomorrow. There's actually still traces of grease on the front of this thing. That's kind of cool. That's still turning okay. So, all right. And here's the screw that was holding that in. Two of these. Of course, I have now misplaced the other one, but let me get these tabs open and see what's going on with that. All right, we are back. That actually was a bit harder than I thought it was going to be. This was put together really well. So this has two pieces. This is the side that engages the wheel. So we can see that's spinning okay. Could use some love. Some of these teeth have been filled with junk, just over time. But spins okay. See, it's got basically it's a gear on a gear, and that smaller gear engages with this big one here. And you just kind of line them up. There we go. Cool. Now, the other end. Here, this is where the motor went. It's where it engaged. So it's stuck in, and it engaged on this gear right here. And as you can see, it does not want to turn very well at all. So let's find out why. All right, so there's some very nasty grease in here. Starters, and a ton of junk. And we've got some grease, but no actual bearing I can see. Oh wait, is that a bearing right there? No, that makes no sense. Because it would need to sit in it, not just on top of it. Like a bearing here would make kind of sense, right? That's rotating. But, that's maybe a screw hole that goes there. So this definitely could use a thorough cleaning. But there's your problem. Now, it could just be that this is, it doesn't have a screw through it. So it's just wiggling around willy-nilly. This is where the rear axle goes. Comes through here. Just kind of chills out. When this, if this lifts up a little bit, it spins okay. This desperately needs a cleaning and a re-greasing. I'd put like a general purpose grease in it, not like a lithium grease or something heavier. When also looks like there is some seal right here. I don't know if this is actual seal or this was just dried up grease or what, but it went all the way around here. And I believe our two halves kind of go together like, yeah, they go together like this. If you push the whole thing back together the way it was, it'll turn. But either there's teeth that are worn too far down, or there's just too much resistance coming from the other gears in the setup. And that's why this thing failed. Once you put it together, it does not want to come back apart. So, okay. That was interesting. Potentially, if I check this motor and it comes out okay, I could try to clean all this up and re-grease it. See if I can't save this thing. Make it a $0 repair, put a little RTV right there, kind of seal all this up. See what we get. We could do that. I could probably do that here in my office. Anyway, it's coming up on like 9:30, 9:45. This is as far as she goes. I have verified the failure. We've got a bad wheel motor. And it is bad because something in the gearing is too gunked up. So I think what I'll do, since it won't cost me anything, is I will clean out the insides of this. And I will spread around some grease, pack it in some grease like you would bearings on a front axle on a car. And if it starts turning okay and the motor's okay, I'll slap it back on there, see what we get. But until that day, I bid everyone a good night, and I will bring this back when I start working on this. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is a new day. So where we left off is that I had opened this up, and when I looked at it, I didn't really see anything wrong. So what I went ahead and did is I cleaned this up. So this one right here, I didn't rinse out with water. I took a metal pick and I cleaned out all the crap that was packed into the gears and all the dust that had accumulated over the years and all the different nooks and crannies. And now when you spin this, it bites fine. I mean, I'm really slipping. So pretty happy with that. So then I took the other half, I repeated the process. These gears weren't as bad because this side does not face the actual drive wheel. It's on the inside, so it's not as exposed to the environment. And once you get here, and it's kind of hard to show because this is looking for an input shaft, which is on the other side. And if you get that shaft, you get to pretend like the shaft's there. It spins just fine. For context, the drive motor goes right there. That's where its input is. So it sticks in like this, I believe. Yeah. Oh, it's even keyed. How cool is that? So it does a little something like that. So all the gears look okay. So just clean it up. And we are going to have to do some greasing though, because we do have these shafts that there's two of them, one on each side, and they do have parts rotating on them, so they need to be greased. And to that end, I rummaged around and I still had some, this is bearing grease for cars. Got a little bit left from whenever I had to pack bearings on my truck because it's old and you still have to do that by hand. So I got that. And I got these because any of you who have worked with automotive grease, bearing grease, brake grease, general farm tractor grease, it goes everywhere you don't want it to go. It's an enormous mess. So have plenty of paper towels. The last thing I did off camera is I had said that I was going to check this against a 12-volt source to see if it was still okay. So what I did there, I said, wait a minute, I have a 12-volt source, right? Now, with the way this works, if you plug this in backwards, all it's going to do is it'll make it spin opposite of the direction you want. Because I may have this wrong, correct me in the comments, but the polarity is one way, you get forward. If it's the other way, you get reverse. So right now it is in what would be speed 1. As you can see, the motor itself works just fine. Put it in speed 2. Works fine. Put it in reverse, which I don't have enough hands to do. Hang on. I have to get a foot involved in this. Put it in reverse. Works just fine. Now the other motor doesn't sound too happy. And that's not the motor itself. That's the plastic teeth banging around. It might need some love as well. But I want to see if I can get this fixed first. So in any case, that is what happened whilst you were off camera. Whilst I was off camera. And so I'm going to go ahead, and where we're going to go today is we're going to grease up these two shafts. And then I found traces of grease on the gears themselves. That's what this brownish orangey stuff is. That's grease. But I can't find a rhyme or reason as to where it went on the gears. So, for example, that does that where these gears greased top and bottom to prevent them rubbing, for example, because I found that on these two. And then over here, I know there's grease that goes on the shaft, but then, as you can see, there's a little bit of grease tucked in down there, and that doesn't really contact anything. So, not sure what's up there. Anyway, let's go ahead and get greasy. So we can just pop one gear out. We don't actually need to pop this other guy out. And pop is the operative term. There's some splines here that lock this in place. So you're going to take, like I said, this stuff's like glitter. Use it sparingly. So we're going to take it, we're going to grease up the shaft, get it good and greasy. Try to get this at an angle where you guys can see what I'm doing. I was noticing on a previous video that did this great work and all you could see was my hairy forearm, which I don't think you guys watch this channel to see my hairy forearm. Alright, so we're going to get that nice and greasy. And on this part of the gear here, I'll, smear a little bit since I did see evidence of that grease there. So, again, if I was treating this as like an automotive application, it would be sealed up and I'd almost run an oil in it. Keep the friction down. Some kind of oil that wouldn't attack the plastic. And then this sucker would probably last forever. But this, as we saw, is open to atmosphere to some regard because I pulled a ton of greased up dust, just dust, from this motor operating for 5 years at my house. Alright, so I probably went a little bit crazy there. That is okay. So we're going to take that, we're going to slide that down, get that in position. Yeah, spins just fine. So that's all we're going to do there. Come back over here. And we need to wiggle this guy out. This one I'm going to take this gear out as well so we can get better access to the shaft. Gonna grease this up. Now as far as what grease you can use here, because this is a toy and you're not exactly doing big power here, I would say almost any kind of general lube. So like farm machinery lube that you use, you can get at Walmart for super cheap. brake lube, bearing grease, brake grease, general grease. I don't think I'd go with like thin lithium. It'd have to be like a paste lithium or something like that. Something that's going to stick, not a spray. It's just my general thing. And I would say nothing that's plant-based, because you're not going to service this for a long time, and anything plant-based, I believe, does go rancid over time. I'm bringing that up because I know there are some chainsaw bar oils that are now bio-friendly. So instead of using like a petroleum dead dinosaur type oil, it's plant-based, so eco-friendly. But as I understand it, you have to, like, if you're not going to use your saw for a while, you have to drain the bar oil back out, otherwise it goes rancid, and then you feel very sad. Sorry about that, guys. Didn't see that I was getting off camera. All right, so we're going to do that, and then we'll just put that back in. And we'll put this back in, and then I'll go derp because I greased the wrong side of it. Or did I? See how that mates up with this other half over here. And the last thing I will do is reinsert the motor. First thing I did when I took it apart, or when I took it out, was I took the motor out. The last thing I do, putting it back in. All right. Clean the fingers. Now, I broke all 3 locking tabs on this guy, but I can tell you that this plastic, it's like a clamshell, and it goes in really deep. And what I'm going to do, if I get this running halfway decently, is I'll probably put a lip of RTV around it, room temperature vulcanization cream, to act as a seal, and it'll be good. All right, so these two, actually, I'm going to lube this too. This plastic is showing some signs of wear, so I'm going to go ahead and lube that. See what we get. See, I'm kind of looking at this as an experiment, because I normally would have just bought a new motor and assembly, called it a day. But I'm trying to push myself to improve myself, to take that extra step and kind of see what you can get. So, all right, get those back together. So it pushes back together. And then when we turn it, it's definitely turning better, but it is also still skipping. And I don't know if it's skipping. Uh-oh, yeah, something's jumped off track at this point. I can hear it. So we were turning, and now we've lost it. There we go. And I don't know if it's because the input motor is not in to hold everything in place, but it is turning a lot better. All right, so we need to get this in. Yeah, it's really acting that way. Like something's just a hair off, and then it slips. If I pull on this, pull it towards me, it'll turn just fine. Well, it turns one way just fine. It doesn't like turning that way too much. Could be we have some stripped out plastic that I missed. But let's see. All right, so we got this in. Now these screws need to go in. And let me get this stuff screwed in, and then we'll hook it back up to power and see what we get. Alright guys, I've got the motor back on, and unfortunately, this is what we see. So there is some teeth that I didn't notice that are worn out. So what's happening is there are gears skipping inside. Doesn't matter if you're doing it forwards or reverse, there's just gears skipping inside. And so you're not getting consistent power, which that's kind of what my hands were telling me when I was spinning it by hand. I just wasn't sure if something was popping out of alignment because the drive gear was missing from the motor. One other thing that it could be, and at this point I'm not going to try to fix. If I had a 3D printer, this would be a cool 3D printer project, but I don't. It could also be because there are no bearings in this assembly, that the center of some of the gears are slightly wallowed out from just rubbing against the metal shafts in there, the drive shafts. So now, instead of being a circle, they're more like an oval, which gives them just enough perturbance that they wobble out of position, and then a gear slips, and then this doesn't work anymore. That very well could also be, like I said, it's the original motor. So anyway, diagnosis confirmed. We have bad gearing inside the motor. The motor itself is fine. I believe I cannot buy new gears, but I will check. If I can buy new gears and it's not ridiculous, I may do that. But I think the smallest unit I can buy is just the motor assembly. So we will pick this up once I have a new motor assembly, and we will put it together, see what we get. Good afternoon, everyone. It is a new day. So the new motor came in, the new assembly, I should say, because you get a motor in the assembly. Admire its cleanliness. You'll never see it this clean again. So you'll notice when you turn it, no skipping, no jumping. It just works. So the next step is I'll plug this in. I'm going to make sure that both of these are going to be rotating. It's going to sit like this. It's going to sit like this, and I'm going to make sure that this, because depending on how I plug that in, this is going to either be the same, rotating in the same direction as the other wheel, or opposite. So I'm going to go ahead, I'll plug it in, make sure I have the direction rotation correct, and put it all back together as shown earlier in the video. So I won't film the putting back together part. There's nothing, there's no gotchas. It's pretty straightforward. And then we will do a test once everything's back together, and we'll see if she runs again. One thing I wanted to show real quick. So I've got the brand new motor in, right? And then I hit the go button. It doesn't appear to be doing much, but the reason why it's doing that is this tractor out of the box has, I believe, like an open differential kind of sort of setup. So basically, if one wheel doesn't get traction, it should be transferring the power over. So if I hold on to the right wheel motor and then I hit the pedal, I actually hold on to it, see that it spins fine. And I do have them both, I've got the wiring correct. I mean, it's like I thought. If you get the wiring backwards, they spin in opposite directions. So anyway, I just wanted to show that because I thought that was kind of interesting. And I'm going to proceed with the rebuild. One other note, because this thing always drives me insane. This push retainer, it is an enormous pain in the butt to put on. The best way to do it, go find a socket, roughly the right size. Put it over like this, tap it in with a hammer. Even then, you may wind up breaking it, you may wind up bending it in really weird shapes, so good luck. The guys I ordered the wheel motor from, they'll give you an extra retainer. It's highway robbery because it costs you $1, but it's convenient. So, got one more of those. That's back on. And once that's back on, you put your, shoot. I did that in the wrong order. You're supposed to have this in and then do everything else. Alright, looks like I'm taking that back off, so lesson learned there. Should have looked at the tape. So you put this back on, it slides right in, it keys up, and then you put the washer back on and then the retainer back on, and then you're good. So let me fix my mistake and then we can get to vehicle testing. Or actually we test it now. Yep, that looks about right. Yep. Groovy. Is it working?